Hello everyone, welcome back to all of you in the Smelly Army Private Members Club. So I've just shot my top 10, or it turned out to be 11 fragrance video for autumn 2019. There were so many great ones I wanted to carry on and do a few more, but it would have been too much for the other for YouTube. Let's carry on in the Private Members Club. Let me know what you thought either of my top 10 over there or of the ones that I'm going to continue with here, and what you think, what are your favourites for the autumn time. By the way, on the subject of my own fragrance, the Kickstarter will be starting really soon for Gravitas Pour Homme. We're just sorting it out with the bank. They're just making sure we're not money laundering or anything as we set up the company that will receive the funds to allow us to produce the fragrance. I'll be letting you guys know first when it's live. Okay, so carrying on, some more amazing fragrances for autumn, and this one is equal to anything in my main list. These are not like honourable mentions, these are just as good. Everything's equally amazing in my view that I'm including in either video. It's Andy Tauer, or Tauer Perfumes L'air du Desert Marocain, number 2 from this series that the house produced. The first one being Maroc Pour Elle, which also works for women, absolutely, for men as well as women, equally fine. But anyway, L'air du Desert Marocain is one of the most wonderful spicy incense fragrances ever produced. It is supposed to conjure up the aura of the air of the Moroccan desert. I've never been there, so I can't comment, and it's not, I mean, that might make it feel very exotic, but it's very wearable to me. There's a slight air of the barbershop. I'm still convinced there might be some lavender in this fragrance, but apparently it's not listed as a note. You've got to love the bottle design. You can pick it up for around about £100 for 50ml, so for such a great niche fragrance, it's quite accessible. Not many other people are wearing it. It's not going to be like the one that the houses everyone's heard of. It's not going to be a Tom Ford, Amouage, Creed Aventus type of thing, so you're still a bit unique unless you know loads of other frag heads when you wear it. Smoky incense. I think some lovely patchouli is going on in there. And it's spicy, it's woody, it's a little bit sweet, but kind of more arid and dry than anything else, and just utterly mysterious, like the best incense stick you could ever imagine. I don't always love incense afterwards, but it's better than any incense smell, but it's just magical. L'air du Desert Marocain, definitely in my list. Moving on then, this is a vintage one that I almost put in the main list. Xerius from Givenchy, not totally discontinued, now reissued in the La Collection series, but I'm lucky enough to have an EDT Splash. Got 2 of those now. Sorry, I think there's a helicopter approaching, or airplane. That's loud, God, it's flying close. We'll just wait for that. There they go. Wonderful kind of Art Deco bottle design on Xerius from Givenchy. Stunning juice. Kind of it is a fougere fragrance. There's a soapiness, there's a sort of 80s masculine vibe, but it's really different to the Koroses, to the Antaeus fragrances. It's got that soapy masculine fougere, but something exotic. There is a little bit of incense in the note listing, which was not so common back then in 1986 when this one was released as it is now. And it's just magnificent, masculine, rich, kind of niche quality juice to me. Got this little air of the 80s, but with exoticism, something mystical and dark in there. It's kind of like a dark fougere. Really, really good. Gonna have a little bit of a dated smell for a lot of people, but I find a lot of things like Czar by Van Cleef & Arpels, what's the other one? Pour Homme from Van Cleef & Arpels as well. Some of the Zino Davidoff, some of the 80s so-called classics, a bit of a muchness. This one stands out as really different and unique. Check out Xerius, either in the vintage or in the modern formula, and of course great for the winter time, because I think the autumn time that is supposed to be the subject of this video. It's a little bit richer and more warming and woody than the average fougere that might be great for spring. Likewise, the first one that I mentioned in this video, L'air du Desert Marocain, that is a great autumnal kind of scent with that smokiness. It's superb. Moving on then, we're going to go with Portrait of a Lady from Dominique Ropion, the perfumer, and Frederic Malle, the company. The name suggests it might be a fragrance for ladies or women, but it's very much unisex to me. It is almost leans a bit more masculine. arguably, I don't know. It's incredibly rich combination of rose and patchouli for me. And it's got this beautiful darkness, this richness, great performance. I'll say rose and patchouli are the two dominant notes for me, and that might just sound simple, but it's so brilliantly blended with all the other stuff in there that it's an absolute masterpiece, and it really gives you that classy air of being somebody wearing something different, something quite rich and powerful. So be careful. But I think for a night out, if you went to a wedding, big occasions when you really want to make an impact, I think Portrait of a Lady, absolutely great. And it's not the cheapest fragrance out there, but it's amongst niche. It's not the most outrageously expensive. And I would say, you know, maybe if you just pick up the 50ml bottle like this, if you can afford it, total 10 out of 10 stunner. And guys, don't be afraid to put that in your collection. Now we're going to move on to one of the perennial talked about old hype trains that used to be a cheapie in Fragcom, and that is of course Midnight in Paris by Van Cleef & Arpels with the fantastic bottle design. This is actually the Eau de Parfum. You're going to have a really hard time finding that. You might pick up the Eau de Toilette. Some people compare it a bit to Dior Homme. Maybe there's a bit of a similarity, but it's not that similar to that. It's got benzoin. It's got a certain freshness in the beginning. I think there's some sort of green leafy notes in there too. A hint of tea, certain sweetness, and something indefinable and magical about this fragrance. It is great. If you can pick up the EDT for a not outrageous price, it's still worth getting. Such a shame it used to be a cheapie, like 20 quid for a 100ml bottle. The bottle design is great. You've got to love the, you know, Van Cleef & Arpels, a famous company making very higher end jewellery, and they've carried that class over into the bottle. Wonderful nighttime fragrance for the autumn or winter. Rich, but has a certain sort of bergamot freshness about it as well. This kind of hint of tea mixed with benzoin, and of course I forgot to say leather, but a very smooth metrosexual kind of leatheriness. Nothing like Tom Ford's Tuscan leather, nothing like Aramis Pour Homme or Powerhouse old school fragrances, but maybe a really smooth suede like leather undertone in there as well. Makes it very, very delicious and classy. Midnight in Paris, still definitely worth having, but I wouldn't spend, well, it's a shame that it's getting expensive. You could argue it's worth it if you can still find a bottle even a little bit pricey. Could be worth getting. One more or two more, let's have a look. This is one of Claire's actually, and I thank her for introducing me to so many great fragrances. Papillon's recent release, Bengal Rouge, is a stunning, brilliant gourmand fragrance. If you like honey in a fragrance, this will be, this is really delivering that. Sometimes honey can be a bit annoying or overly cloying, or even some people can say it's a bit pissy, think honey, but this doesn't have any of that. It's kind of honey, dried fruit, a kind of hay-like note, if that makes sense. And I think Papillon from the perfumer and creator of the house, Liz Moores, makes some amazing stuff. Other ones that are really good, Anubis, quite animalic, challenging fragrance. And Tobacco Rose could have been in this list too, but very taken with this one, and as is Claire. Beautiful kind of complexity. The opening's really nice, but the dry down stays on your skin for ages, and you get this lovely sweetness mixed with a kind of hay-like, does that make sense? Maybe it's tonka in there that has a slight hay-like thing. This wonderful, comforting smell that stays on your skin for hours. And again, very much a unisex fragrance that guys into niche stuff totally, I think, can pull off and be happy with. My next fragrance is the last one in this list, and I've frustratingly left it in the other room. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Yes, last up then in the bonus list here is Boucheron Jaipur Homme. Incredible for the money you can pick this up for. I've got the Eau de Parfum here, I have the Eau de Toilette too. There's not a lot in it. It's a stunning oriental fragrance which has a lot of vanilla. For me, a very powdery order, a certain spiciness. I think there's some cinnamon, And also, very importantly, a certain lemony freshness in the opening. To me, a kind of a, well, not even a kind of, very much a barbershop feel, I think, but mixed with a heavy dose of really nicely done powder and vanilla. And this gives it, it's kind of an oriental barbershop fougere to me. I've said before that I think it might be described as Brut by Fabergé mixed with vanilla. That's a bit simplistic. Many people wouldn't agree. I think there's heliotrope in here too. Wonderful, exotic, yet fresh and masculine type of mixture. Fantastic performance, even in the EDT. The EDP a little bit more accents the sweetness and the spiciness. The EDT accenting the fresher opening notes, but there's not a lot in it. Both have great performance. The bottle design is amazing, and the price on this is extremely good as well. So Boucheron Jaille Per Homme for the autumn time, of course, with that sort of sweetness and the oriental fragrance thing, as well as some freshness. It is perfect for autumn days or nights. Let me know if you tried any of the things in this list in the comments down below. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Remember, whatever you are doing in life, let's project. See you next time. Bye bye.